The dawning of a new era in CSB sports.
We're so awesome that even our school wants us. You got to come on here. AllNoiseRadio.com, baby. We need your support. We appreciate your support. Look forward to our show every week.
With our new lunchtime spot, 12 to 1, bringing you a wide variety of topics in the world of sports.
Hockey, basketball, baseball, football. Get ready.
We work hard. We love sports.
The knowledge.
I just want to make you look bad, Ruggs, because you always make me look bad with your sports intellect.
The passion.
Hey, Jimmy, you're going to be the best-looking guy on the unemployment line, buddy. What a disgrace.
It's the Zuki and Ruggs Show on All Noise Radio.
Live from the CSB studios in Stratford, Connecticut, it's the Zuki and Ruggs Show, bringing you a wide variety of topics in the world of sports. I'm Ruggs. I'm here with my partner, Zuki. What's up, Zuki?
What up, son? How's it going?
Not too bad.
Football. Woohoo! Is here. Hut. Can't wait. Can't wait to hear Peyton say Omaha 17,000 times. Can't wait to see, Tom Brady. I've missed him so much. God, I can't wait to see him. So many great things, we've missed. Can't wait to hear Richard Sherman, talk more smack. So many things to look forward to. But, Ruggs, I know you've got a list in front of you.
I do. And we're going to start with the AFC East. We'll go division by division on these segments and try to get to each one before play begins in the NFL. Coming up on September 11th.
7.
Is the first game Thursday?
No.
The first?
Fourth.
Oh, it is. Okay, it is the 4th. I thought it was the week after.
Wait. Second. Yeah,
it is the 4th. You're right.
Thursday the 4th. Yep.
So Thursday the 4th, that's right around the corner.
It sure is. It sure is.
So let's just start with the Bills. Your Bills, Zook, your beloved Buffalo Bills. Last year they had a 6-10 record, but show some signs of optimism. And really, they added a lot of key pieces, in my opinion. They went out and they upgraded the wide receiver position big time. They went and drafted Mr. Sammy Watkins out of Clemson.
Who's making some incredible, do yourself a favor. You want to see some thrilling catches, go on YouTube, and they're all over the place. They're going viral with some of these catches he's making in practice. It's just, if he can do this on Sundays, wow, the Buffalo Bills have got themselves
talent.
A treat. Boy, oh boy, he could be the Bills' best wide receiver in franchise history. No disrespect, Mr. Andre Reed, who was just inducted into the Hall of Fame last weekend. So he could be right there with him.
A little bit under the radar, too, but they also got Mr. Mike Williams out of Tampa Bay, which I love that signing.
I did like that trade for a 6th-round pick. I think Mike Williams, who's from that area, went to school at Buffalo University. It's a good pick. I think he needed a change of scenery. He looks rejuvenated from the preseason games I've watched. I think they're going to get a lot from him. I really think Buffalo's deep at wide receiver.
Yeah.
Really like T.J. Graham. Robert Woods, the second-year guy from USC.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think they've got some incredible weapons there. That's why I think getting rid of Stevie Johnson, although I hated to see his production go, I think he'll be replaced. And, I think the transition from Stevie Johnson will be seamless.
I do. I think they upgraded at the position.
I do as well. They've got 4 excellent wide receivers. I know people are going to say, "Oh, excellent." Well, I'm going to say it. I really do like T.J. Graham, 3rd year now. Usually that's when receivers blossom, and now he can be a number 4. I mean, he's a guy in the slot who can be really, really tough. He's a good deep threat too. Robert Woods, excellent possession receiver. I really like the receivers. I like Scott Chandler, underrated tight end.
Yeah, and then they added Mo Iaki as a backup. Out of Kansas City. It was a nice little.
That's right.
Little addition. We know we've seen him past couple of years. The guy can catch the football.
Yeah,
puts up some numbers.
I think the
good
Bills,
red zone target.
Yeah, very well. Good point, Ruggs. Good point. And although Kiko Alonso's a huge injury, and I can't put enough emphasis on that.
Yeah, it is.
But they still have a great front. They went out and got Brandon Spikes.
Yeah.
I think it was an underrated signing. I really like Brandon Spikes a lot. I've watched him in the preseason. He looks pretty damn good. I also like Keith Rivers. He's an older, a veteran guy, but he could provide them some depth. So I think they will be able to, put a Band-Aid at the linebacker position and still get some key production there. I know Kiko Alonso still. Guy played like an all-pro linebacker. It was amazing the year he had last season.
And there's some question marks with Darius. Let's hope for the Bills' sake that he's able to get himself in gear and show up and be ready to play week 1. We'll see.
I'm sure he will. I mean, yeah, it looks like he actually did get himself in shape. Who knows what happened? Sometimes when you get young, you start hearing stuff. You get a little complacent. That kind of happens. Who knows? Maybe he went to bulk up and maybe got too big. Like that could happen too. I mean, he is still a young guy. Hopefully, he doesn't become a problem, and hopefully he just keeps his head on straight and just can be a productive nose tackle, because he really can be when he's on. He's improved every season. He reminds me a lot of. He could be like a Warren Sapp. Him and Kyle Williams down there is just unbelievable. That's a nightmare.
Yeah, Kyle Williams is a good ball player.
Oh my goodness, you have Mario Williams coming around the outside, coming to get you. He had a resurgence in 2013 as well. He was healthy. People killed him. With his contract and his. I mean, if we want to say poor production, he still had about 11.5 sacks in 2012. Yeah. I never saw a guy have that many sacks and be criticized, call him a bust. But nevertheless, he really, really had a tremendous year last year. Really played like a top pass rusher last season. So, but I mean, let's see. I mean, Buffalo's secondary, I think, is okay.
Yeah, there's some questions on the back end. They did lose Jarris Bird to the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
Gave him in my opinion, maybe a little too big of a contract, but we'll see how it plays out.
Well, I watched a lot of Buffalo games. He was tremendous, but he did get a lot of gift interceptions. I'm not trying to diminish Jarris Bird, but I hate seeing him leave. Believe me, it hurts to watch the guy go. But he did get a lot of his interception numbers were kind of inflated. Believe me, I watched a lot of games.
Now he's down having surgery. And his offseason, he just went in for neck surgery. So who knows? Maybe you guys ended up lucking out with that. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, they added Bryce Brown from the Eagles for a little. I know I'm jumping defense to offense
here. It's okay. You're damn right about Buffalo. They did add a lot of depth. They have a lot of depth at running back as well. You're right. Freddie Jackson's getting a little older, but yeah, Bryce Brown was a good pickup. They also added who's the other guy they added? I'm trying to think here off the top of my head. There's another guy who's pretty darn good. I mean, and you got to expect C.J. Spiller is going to bounce back.
Yeah, and they re-signed Fred Jackson. A lot of people thought they might not bother doing that. I thought that was a good signing for what Fred Jackson's asking price is. Why would you not bring him back?
Right.
And then they upgraded a little. They felt there was a needed offensive line, so they went out and drafted Cyrus Kouangio from Alabama.
Yes.
I saw him in the Hall of Fame game against the Giants. He had a little, it's an adjustment. I mean, they beat him a couple times, but he'll get there. I think he's got all the physical tools.
We'll see. I mean, we got an injury. Another injury with Buffalo. He's and it's not looking good for Cordy Glenn. The Buffalo Bills starting left tackle.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at the depth chart here. I mean, I don't think Kouangio will be ready to do that. Slide over to left tackle. We're looking at Henderson here on left tackle here. Maybe he can be a guy to slide in. That could be a big hole also. I mean, that's E.J. Manuel's blind side there.
Yep. We'll have to get that figured out. But otherwise, I don't. The schedule makers did not do the Bills a real favor. And
they did not.
Their first five, I'm going to do this with each team that we cover. The first 5 games of the schedule, they start at Chicago, very tough opening week game.
Jeez.
They come home from Miami, a divisional game, Then they got the Chargers, who were in the playoffs last year, not an easy game at home.
At home, though, which I like.
Yeah.
Buffalo always plays pretty well at home.
And then they make a little road trip to Houston, and who's going to be better. They're going to be revamped. I mean, Buffalo can get that game, no doubt about it.
I think so.
Then they got to go to Detroit.
At Detroit.
So,
and then they got New England at home.
Yeah. After that,
their first 6 games.
So the first 6 are,
Yeah,
they can go 3-3 in that stretch. I'd be very, very happy if I'm a Buffalo Bills fan.
I'll take 3-3. I'll be honest with you, Ruggs. You got to think they can beat. Well, they swept Miami last year with Thad Lewis. You know what? Just start Thad Lewis in that game.
Oh, absolutely. I like their chances in that game. Certainly.
The Chargers is a winnable game because they're at home.
Yeah.
Buffalo plays very well at home, but the thing is, it'll still be warm out. It's a September game.
Yeah, you don't get the advantage.
Right.
You'd rather play San Diego and Buffalo in December.
Right, which is when we usually beat
Miami,
them.
for that matter.
Right. And then you got at Houston, which I think is a winnable game. I'd like to really get our hands on Houston. They beat us last year. or 2 years ago, I believe it was. They beat us last year. I think it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, so they really get some revenge on them. And we got our old friend Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was looking like he's going to be the starting quarterback there. It's really like to get our hands on them. And then at Detroit, although I tell you what, Jim Schwartz is our defensive coordinator.
Well, is somebody
you never know.
A little bit
if anybody knows about Detroit, he is our DC now. So
he's the best looking guy in the defensive defensive coordinator position in Buffalo.
I'm still eating crow on that. I'm still eating.
I like it though. I love that line.
Isn't that
best
great?
looking guy in the unemployment line?
Yeah, nice best looking guy.
But these guys don't
Buffalo.
stay unemployed. You know that.
No.
They get jobs somewhere else.
And it's apparent the Buffalo defense is very happy to be playing for Jim Schwartz. So we'll see. Let's see how it goes under Jim Schwartz. But
then we'll go to your good friends in Miami next. We'll cover them real quick. They were 8-8 last year. Won some games they definitely should not have won, and probably lost a few that they had a chance.
Before we jump, looking at the schedule, what do you think on Buffalo's? What do you think on Buffalo? How many wins?
For their over? Yeah, we should get into that. Every year it seems like the Bills are looking 8-8. It's what the over under seems to be on them every year. Can they break that 8-8 shell and push toward the playoffs? Can this be the year that they push toward the playoffs? I think 9 wins isn't out of the question for them.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 7-9.
I think it'll be. So that's probably if you average that out, I'll say 9-7. You'll say 7-9, and 8-8 is
the
average. That's probably what Vegas is going to put on them. Somewhere in that 7.5.
Looking at the schedule, let's say they go 3-3 after the Patriot game. Let's say they're 3-2 going into facing the Patriots at home, which they always give the Patriots a fight in Buffalo. They always do.
Oh, sure.
But I just think, I don't know, man. The Patriots are so good this year, especially if they're healthy by week 6, they're going to be tough to beat. Let's say they're 3-3. Then they're home to the Vikings. They can win that game.
Yep.
At the Jets, home to the Chiefs. That's the winnable. At Dolphins, Jets again, Browns. Then it gets tough. The schedule makers didn't do them any favors here. Folks, Buffalo goes at Denver week 14, hosting Green Bay week 15.
Yeah.
Oh. And then they're at the Raiders, and of course, and then at the Patriots. So the last 3 out of 4 games, they got to go Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady.
Yeah, they got a very difficult beginning and end of the schedule.
I say 7, and you know what? I go at 7 and 9.
Yeah, I may back off to 8-8 now that I heard that. All right, so now your good friends in Miami.
Yeah,
the hated Dolphins there. Like I said, 8-8 last year.
Okay.
They upgraded definitely at some key positions. They added no Sean Moreno.
I actually like Moreno. Most people are killing the Dolphins. I like Moreno. He's a bulldog, man.
I think if he gets himself healthy, he'll be a good addition.
That was the question on Moreno last year, and he ended up having a 1,000-yard season. And the guy ended up having a tremendous year. The guy's a workhorse. Denver's going to miss him, especially picking up the blitzes. And Ryan Tannehill's going to love no Sean Moreno. The guy picks up blitzes. He catches the ball out of the backfield. I love Moreno. And I'll admit it. Coming out of Georgia, I did not like Moreno. And I after his first couple years in the league, I hated him, to be honest with you. But the last 2 years, I've watched Moreno. Man, I'm a big fan of him.
Yeah, he's dedicated himself to hard work, and it's really paid off for him.
He's tremendous. I really like the signing. As opposed to last year when Miami was just, in my opinion, spending money in vain. This was not. This was definitely needed a running back. I'm sorry, Lamar Miller is not a full-time running back. I actually think the guy sucks, to be honest with you. I do not like Lamar Miller at all. But they made a huge upgrade with Moreno. I know Lamar Miller's still going to be on the team, but please, he's just going to hold Moreno's water until maybe like week 3 or something. Until Moreno gets a full head of steam going, then I think Moreno's going to take off and carry that team. Not carry him to the Super Bowl, but I
understand what you mean. I think he'll be the workhorse. He'll be the number one guy at that backfield, no question about it.
Absolutely.
And they, this was a Ryan Tannehill friendly offseason for Miami. They went and upgraded at the running back position, bringing in Moreno. Then they certainly helped them out on the offensive line because let's face it, the biggest hole in Miami last year was that joke of an offensive line and all that chaos that was going on with Incognito and Martin. There's crazy crap that went on there.
Yes.
So they go and get Brandon Albert out of Kansas City.
Yeah.
Good upgrade there.
Very good sign.
They go and sign Juwan James out of Tennessee.
Very
to
good.
Be that guy that's going to come in at the tackle position and upgrade that. So you could have a serious upgrade at offensive line for Miami, which will certainly help the likes of Ryan Tannehill and company. And then they went and made some moves on defense. They went and got Cortland Finnegan and Louis Delmas to help the secondary out because
very good. The secondary got killed last year
because they did lose Chris Clemens to the Texans, which is it was a loss. I don't know how much Chris Clemens still has left.
Yeah,
in the tank, but he was a big part of their defense. They went and got also picked up Earl Mitchell, but they did lose John Jerry to the Giants on defense. They lost Nolan Carroll, another defensive back, to the Eagles. Paul Soliai went to my Atlanta Falcons at a linebacker position. We'll see if he's able to pay any dividends. And then, like I was telling you on the break, Dimitri Patterson, they lost to the Jets, and he went and promptly got injured. So we'll see if he's back for. But the defensive lineman there going to New York. Their schedule a little bit easier than Buffalo's, I must say. They do open at home with New England, which is not an easy thing to do. But then they go to Buffalo, which is an iffy game when it's week 2 when it's still nice out there. That's a toss-up game in my opinion. It could go either way. They host Kansas City, who I feel might come back to earth a little bit this year, possibly. Although I still think they're a good team, but
they're good. But I think,
and then Miami goes to Oakland week 4 and has a bye week 5. So their first 5 weeks look a little bit easier than the Bills does.
I like the Dolphins are very eclectic. I mean, we all remember last year they started out 3-0. They looked like they were going to give the Patriots a run at the division. Then they just turned around and, let's face it, they blew that wild card spot last year. I mean, they blew it. They choked. I mean, they needed to win one game down the stretch. Couldn't do it. Just really pitiful performances down the stretch. It's just you don't know what you're going to get with this team. But I do like some of the upgrades they made. I think they're going to be a fringe playoff team again.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I could see them chasing. I just think it's going to be the same story with the Dolphins this season. I think they're going to be chasing a wild card spot. I just don't think they have enough to beat out New England. No one does. I think New England. I think the only team that could beat New England is Denver.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo jumps them in the standings. If it comes down to like 8-8 Buffalo, 7-9 Miami, I wouldn't be surprised.
Wouldn't shock me at all. I mean, you never know with Buffalo either. It depends. It's all about stealing games too.
Yeah,
can Miami steal some games?
They did last year.
They did, but they also let up some big ones too. Yep. They did steal some games. They like the San Diego game. That comes to my mind, which I thought was going to eliminate San Diego and actually propelled them, which was ironically enough.
We left them for dead after that game.
Yeah, we sure did.
And then they went in on a Thursday night and beat Denver in Denver when I said they had no chance to do so.
Right. So
and it was all roses from there on for San Diego.
So, I mean, I like Miami. They're going to be very competitive. I give them about I could see them going 9-7. I could see them doing that. I could even see them beating New England one time this year. I really could. I could.
Yeah.
They got some talent. Miami's got some talent there. So let's just see what they can do. It's a big year for Joe Philbin.
Yeah, he needs to.
I think he needs to, even if not make the playoffs, he needs to be right there. I think if they have another bad finish as they did last year, I think Joe Philbin could be looking for a job as well.
Very possibly.
But we'll see. The Dolphins are one of those teams. It's really hard to pinpoint. They're really hard to gauge. But we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll hit those New England Patriots now. The 12-4 record they had last year, runner-ups in the AFC. Nothing to indicate that they won't be contending again for an AFC title. They went out and drafted defensive tackle Dominique Easley out of Florida. A big-time guy to stuff the run, even get after the passer a little bit.
Yeah.
Really plugs the middle of that defense, kind of help out what I think is going to be a very improved defense this year. I think New England has a chance to really make big strides because they've been known as, they got to be a team that outguns you, shootout kind of team. I don't know that they're going to have to necessarily do that this year. They did lose Brandon Spikes to your Bills, which is a big loss.
Yeah, they lost.
But they did upgrade. They got very, very
they got some guy named Revis.
Yeah, so very, very upgraded in the secondary. And they also went and got Brandon Browner out of Seattle, who's no slouch either.
Yeah.
So they instantly went, and now they can cover some of those Denver receivers
I tell you
comes
what,
time to play them.
it's going to be a battle of the trenches now between the Broncos and Patriots. Let's be honest, the Patriots are going to the AFC title game. It's just a
I think
matter.
the Broncos are too.
It's just a matter of
rematch.
It's just a matter of where the game's going to be played. Let's be honest. Let's not even fool ourselves here. The New England Patriots are going to be awesome. I could see them being 13-3, 12-4 at the worst. I just don't see any team in the AFC that can. I mean, even 12-4, I don't feel good about. I mean, I'm having them lose game. I mean, I'm maybe thinking they can lose a game to Miami. I'm even giving the Jets a legitimate shot, maybe at stealing a game, but even that's becoming remote with their porous secondary. Now the Jets, with all these injuries they've sustained there. I love New England. I could even see them winning the whole thing. I really could. I could see the Patriots winning a Super Bowl and Tom Brady finally getting that 4th Super Bowl and joining Joe Montana. Let's be honest, Darrelle Revis is that good. Any Jet fan anybody who wants to say, we've always heard the question, how did the Jets go to 2 straight AFC title games? Folks, stop it. It's not a mystery. You don't need Sherlock Holmes and you don't need Columbo to figure out. The Jets made it to the AFC title game those 2 years because of one guy. One guy. I don't want to hear about Thomas Jones. No,
it was a good offensive line and a lot of Darrelle Revis.
Darrelle Revis, okay? Darrelle Revis is the reason why the Jets made it to back-to-back AFC title games and why they've sucked since, okay? That's why. Number 24, Revis Island. It's in Foxborough, and unfortunately for myself, he's back in my division again, which is a nightmare. So Sammy Watkins is going to be introduced to that his rookie year. Hopefully he doesn't want to jump into the Niagara Falls by the time he goes against Darrelle Revis. And the Jets are going to get reintroduced to him, as is Mike Wallace, who's as soft as a marshmallow. He's going to be introduced to him. He might not even cover him. He might cover Heartline because Wallace is such a wuss. And
they went and typical Belichick went and added a veteran, Will Smith. New Orleans,
they've done a tremendous job.
He can be a key contributor. He's maybe a declining player, but still could be
very good. He'll be rejuvenated in New England as usual.
It seems like everybody does. They open up at Miami.
Win.
Then they go to Minnesota.
Win.
Then they host Oakland.
Win.
Then they go to Kansas City on a Monday night. Maybe could be interesting, but they should win it.
Win.
And then they host Cincinnati.
Win.
So how about maybe a 5-0 start?
And what's the rest of their schedule?
I only did the first 5 of these teams for training camp just to get them out of the gate. But how does it seem that New England? You're supposed to get a hard schedule when you have a great record, and the lower your record is, it's supposed to be weighted in the. It seems like they got cake, and Buffalo got a tough schedule.
They always do. It's no coincidence, folks. This is nothing new with the New England
Patriots.
How does their schedule go after that?
I'm not looking at it. I'll pull it up on the screen.
It's
it's not. I mean, they do have Denver in Foxborough at some point.
Of course, in Foxborough. Oh, of course, because they didn't play Denver there last year. Oh no! Oops! Am I breaking the third wall? What a joke! But nevertheless, the Patriots are going to be really good. No shocker there. I'm going to go 13 wins. I can see them going 13-3.
Yeah, I'll echo that statement. It's going to come down. I don't know if either Miami or Buffalo are going to take a game from him, to be honest with you. And who knows with the Jets. The Jets obviously upgraded at a lot of positions.
Yeah, they did. I like what the Jets did. Unfortunately, I think their secondary is going to be really porous, and that's going to be their demise. That's going to spell the Jets' demise as their porous secondary. I like their front. Their front is very good, but unfortunately, a lot of teams have a good front, but their secondary is really bad, and they're going to have to deal with a revamped New England Patriot team who I didn't say this much. I think Tom Brady's going to have a monster season. I think Gronkowski being back and all those guys being healthy, I think the Patriots are going to carve up the Jets. And I just don't like in a passing league, you need to have a good secondary, and the Jets unfortunately don't. That's going to kill them. Their offense, Geno Smith is still their quarterback. I want to see the kid improve, but come on. I don't see it. Then you're going to rely on Chris Ivory and Chris Johnson. You're relying on Chris Johnson to do what? Get tackled at the line of scrimmage again? Oh, geez.
We'll see how that goes. They were 8-8 last year, and we'll jump to the Jets here. Last team in our division for the night.
Yeah,
they picked up Michael Vick. Everybody knows that. They picked up Chris Johnson. Everybody kind of knows that, too. Big-name players.
Eric
Decker, another big one. Jacoby Ford. little bit,
Good return,
going to add speed to their wide receiving core because I think they're going to use him as a receiver just as much as a return man. They need the weapons.
Yeah.
And they went out and got, Jason Babin, who was kind of a man without a country.
They got
ever
him
since Philly just kind of scrapped him.
He was on the scrap heap, yeah.
And they got Brino Giacomini, big offensive lineman, big guard out of Seattle, who had a nice year last year.
Yeah.
Kind of a tough, mean-spirited kind of guy.
Yep.
Maybe fit in there with the Jets, try to get them back to playing Rex ball. And they drafted free safety out of Louisville, Calvin Pryor, who's trying to, But unfortunately, like you said, Milner's down, and some other injuries on their defensive, defensive front. They lost Cromartie. They also lost obviously Mark Sanchez and Santonio Holmes. No surprise there. Mike Goodson left the team, so they're not anything they can't replace. They'll be an interesting team. They have a tough opener too. They start with Oakland at home, so they'll get a good little win, I think, on opening day. But then they go at Green Bay,
loss,
host Chicago,
loss,
host Detroit. They could be 1-3 and then headed to San Diego.
You never know with Detroit,
in
though.
Week 5, so
I could see.
At best, what do you think? 2-3.
At best.
I don't think they're going into San Diego.
I say at best they're 2-3 Ruggs. That's with them beating Detroit on a. But this is a new Detroit. I mean, I really like to see how Detroit's going to look with Jim Caldwell, a more disciplined head coach.
Wouldn't shock me if they were 1-4.
Not at all. I really do think the Jets are going to have I could see the Jets having a bad year. I really could. I think their offense will be improved. It's a big year for Geno Smith. He's going to need to step up. I don't think he's going to get too much pressure from Michael Vick. I think,
but the fans, if they are 1-4, you'll hear the birds calling for.
You will.
Birds calling for Michael Vick.
They will, especially if he has one bad game. We all know how Jeff fans are, especially fans in New York. That's going to happen. But I don't know. I can see the Jets being 7-9. Their offense will be improved, but it came at a cost. It came at a price. Their defense is going to not be so great. Their front's good.
Their front's very good.
Their front is very good. So I'm not trying to diminish them there. Yep. But what happens if they don't get to the quarterback? And you better get to the quarterback in 3 seconds with that secondary. I'm sorry. I mean, Milner's going to be back, but don't tell me a high ankle sprain don't linger. It does.
Especially when you're facing Tom Brady twice.
Yeah.
You're going to have Aaron Rodgers. It looks like
Sammy
you're going to have
Watkins.
Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
You're going to have Jay Cutler, and you're going to have
Brandon Marsh. Forget about that. Look at the level of receivers he's going to have to cover.
And you're going to have Matthew Stafford all in this season, and that's just half their schedule we're talking about.
And he's the number one. So let's just look at the receivers. Go through it again. Week 1.
Oakland.
Wow.
Do they have a number one receiver?
Rod Streeter. I don't know.
Green Bay's got a couple.
Green Bay, Randall Cobb, Jordy Nelson. Good luck.
Chicago, you got
Brandon Marsh and Alshon Jeffrey. Good luck.
Detroit. CJ.
I don't even need to say the guy's name. Good luck, D.
And then San Diego's not. Michael
Keenan
Floyd's
Allen.
Pretty good.
Keenan Allen, Rookie of the Year candidate last year. Good luck. Yeah. Good luck, Jets. We all know with the Jets, usually when you think they're going to be good, they're bad.
I say Michael Floyd. I meant Malcolm Floyd. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right.
Well, I may have said it right. I don't know, but
I think you said Malcolm. Whatever. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not that high in the Jets, man. I'm just really. I was liking the Jets until this secondary.
Getting a little cold on them.
No, I'm really down on them. I'm really down. And can Eric Decker? He's going from Peyton Manning to Geno Smith.
Eric Decker's going to have a tough adjustment.
That's like going from a Bentley to a Honda.
He doesn't have Demarius Thomas on the other side of the field.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. That's a big.
Or Wes Welker.
Yeah, that's a big blow. Yep. I mean, I think Eric Decker's very good, but if Jeff fans think they're going to get what they got in Denver, they're in for a rude awakening. But you never know about the NFL. I mean, that's the way it's looking now. But I mean, I think the division's going to be very competitive. I don't think the Jets are going to be garbage by any means. I just don't see them being a playoff team. I just don't see it. They're not going to last with that. And they have to play Peyton Manning this year. They have to play the AFC West. They got some, and they play the NFC North.
Yeah.
So you got like we've already said, Bears, Packers, Lions,
get them right away too.
Broncos, Chargers. I mean, the Chiefs even still have some weapons. I mean, they're not great, but they have weapons, the Chiefs. It ain't going to be easy for the Jets. We'll see what happens, but all in all, it's the Patriots division.
Yeah, I don't think we're
nothing
breaking any ground here.
No.
We're both picking the Patriots to win this division. I'm
running
going
away.
to go out and say that this is a one-bid league, so to speak, and
Running away.
the other three teams are not going to make the playoffs this year if I had a gun
I
to my
agree.
head. But it wouldn't shock me if one of them got in.
Miami,
if one of them
Miami would be the
Miami
one.
the most likely.
Yep.
But, if some things broke right for the Jets or the Bills, they could.
They could. I think the Bills, this tough schedule, I think next year's the year for the Bills. They're going to have to get, draft better and get Kiko Alonso back next year. And you really go from there. I think next year's the year for the Bills. Same thing with the Jets. I think the Jets are going to have to make a couple adjustments in the secondary, make some pickups there. But I like what the Jets have done, though. It's going. Yeah. We'll see.
This session of the NFL Training Camp Report is going to cover the AFC North and what's often been a black and blue type of division. Great rivalries that have been around for a long time, and I don't think anything's going to be different this year. Maybe more firepower to go to the league. A lot of stories coming out of this division, kind of a hot, some hot topics. And Zuki's going to, take apart the first team, and that's the Baltimore Ravens. Go ahead, buddy.
Well, the Baltimore Ravens, who nearly made the playoffs and really blew it down the stretch, to be honest with you. They had a playoff spot wrapped up until the last 2 weeks of the season. Really bad job on their part, but it's just a nightmare season for the Ravens through and through. Joe Flacco had the worst year of his career, and I guess he had a Super Bowl hangover there.
Contract hangover, maybe.
Yeah, that as well, proving that that contract was a joke, as most of them are. And listen, he didn't have a lot of targets to throw to. I understand he didn't have a lot of weapons. Pitta was hurt, so on and so forth. Cry me a river if you're an elite quarterback, as he was boasting that he was going into the season, and as he was boasting during the Super Bowl about how great he was and all of that, that proved to be garbage, straight garbage. He ended up having a dreadful season. I mean, let's look at these numbers for a passing quarterback. He did end up with 3,912 passing yards, considering how many times he threw the ball. That's a skewed statistic. He ranked 14th in passing yards per game at 244.5, which is really putrid in today's NFL. Now, can that be attributed to his lack of receivers? Well, Tom Brady didn't have a lot of receivers, and Tom Brady still averaged about 271 yards per game. So that tells you all you need to know there. Well, nevertheless, it's a big year for Joe Flacco. He needs to step up and be a leader here and prove that he is a Super Bowl MVP and all of this, all the hoopla that comes with it. Now, can he turn it around? Well, he's going to have to do so without Ray Rice for the first 2 games of the season. He's the guy that makes that offense go. Now, can Bernard Pierce step up and, take the reins in the backfield there? We'll see about that. They really need Bernard Pierce to step up. He's another guy that had really a lousy season. He was a guy that many people thought was going to step up and really be productive for them, and he did nothing. I mean, he was another big disappointment. A lot of disappointments throughout that entire team, outside of their kicker, who, if not for him, I think he won 4 games for the Ravens by himself, Justin Tucker. So, outside of him, I think the team was just a complete mess. They didn't do much to revamp the team. They brought in Steve Smith. Let's face it, the guy's old. His best days are behind him, but can he just muster up enough game? Can he reach back and, with a change of scenery, you oftentimes see that maybe a guy gets motivated and he's going to try to stick it to Carolina and prove to them that they shouldn't have given up on him. We'll see about that. Steve Smith's numbers did drop steadily after his incredible 2011 season, the last 2 years. We'll see. You never know with Steve Smith. When you think he's done, he's not. So I was ready to give up on him, and he had that incredible 2011 season. He was productive with Cam Newton. So we'll see. They also brought in Owen Daniels. I like Owen Daniels.
Yeah, I thought this was a good pickup.
Very underrated signing. Play a little 2 tight end set with Pitta. Flacco likes throwing to the tight ends, so they're going to have two pretty good tight ends there. A very underrated signing there. So we'll see. And now the thing is this: who this is really going to help is Torrey Smith, because Torrey Smith, it was proven last year that he's not a number one guy. Let's just face it, he's not. He's not a number one receiver on an offense. Torrey Smith is a nice number two, complementary receiver, deep threat, alongside a number one. He's not a number one receiver. Now with Steve Smith there, I don't know how much he's going to scare guys, but he's there. Will that help Torrey Smith? We'll see. I don't think it's really going to make a significant difference. Their defense was okay, not great. Okay. They drafted a couple guys. I like the C.J. Mosley draft pick on draft night. I loved it. I thought C.J. Mosley slipped inexplicably, and he fell right to the Ravens. So I'm sure Ozzie Newsome and the Ravens were pleasantly
and they have a history
surprised.
of drafting and grooming greatness in the linebacker position.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So they also drafted. Who they draft? Jernigan?
Yeah, they got Jernigan from Florida State, a big defensive tackle. I mean, there's a lot of upside on this guy.
Yeah.
I thought they made some good moves. And,
Yeah.
You know, and those kind of moves, they allow you the freedom in your salary cap to go and spend ungodly amounts of money on Joe Flacco.
Ozzie Newsome's a great drafter. He really is he's one of the best drafting general managers maybe ever. The guy just really knows how to find guys that fit the system, and they excel. I mean, God, we can go on and on throughout the history of his tenure there. Yep. I mean, Bart Scott, the two guys that left last year, the one that I forget the names now. There's so many guys, so on and so forth. We can just Jamie Sharper. I mean, wow. I mean, we just keep going throughout the annals of his tenure, and we can see that those guys play great under his system, play great in Baltimore, and do absolutely nothing everywhere else they go.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
interrupt
you there. I was just going to ask you a devil's advocate question. Would you have faulted? What would you have thought Ozzie Newsome and the organization had they kind of not gotten caught up in the moment, the Super Bowl run of Joe Flacco, and had said, "Hey, you're not worth this max huge deal. We're going to let you go test the waters and possibly go." And not kill the rest of our team, not handicap them and strap them down with the big contract against the salary cap. Would you have applauded that move, or would you think they just had to go and keep the guy that just won them the title?
Unfortunately, they had to keep the guy that just won them the title. I've actually got family out in the Baltimore area, and they basically told me in not so many words that this is it for Flacco. And it was funny because I was texting my cousin actually right before. I actually wanted to go to that game, which was Ray Lewis's last home game at M&T against the Colts, and I ended up not going. I wasn't able to go. The game was on a Saturday. Sunday would have worked better, but nevertheless. And I was texting him, and he goes, "You know what, man? This is it for Flacco." He's like, with his contract status and his lack of playoff, I shouldn't say success. He had success. He's gotten wins, but I mean, going to the Super Bowl, this was it for Flacco, really. I mean, and that's the way a lot of people felt in Baltimore. So,
yeah, really, when you look at it, he's a great postseason quarterback. I mean, a lot of road wins.
The most ever, yeah.
Another guy, though, that has a lot of road wins and had great numbers in the postseason is Mark Sanchez. So sometimes it's not
skewed.
End-all, be-all stat.
It's skewed. Yep.
I think it's a little different in Flacco's case, but
Flacco actually played. Yeah, Flacco played well. He did play well in that run. But looking at the Ravens here, they're middle of the road in terms of strength of schedule. I mean, they open at home against Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Obviously, two tough division games, but they are home. Then they go to Cleveland, and then Steve Smith does return to Carolina on week 4. I mean, pretty tough. I mean, I could see 2-2 after those first 4. They go to Indy, which is no easy feat. Then to Tampa. We'll see if that Tampa 2 is going to give them any trouble. We'll see if the Bucs are for real or not. Then they go to your team, the Falcons. I'm sorry, they host the Falcons, excuse me. Then they go to Cincy and to Pittsburgh back-to-back. So they've got 4 in October. They got 4 road games out of 5.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's tough, including Cincy and Pittsburgh back-to-back. Ouch. And then they host Tennessee. Then they mercifully go to their bye. Then they're at New Orleans, home to San Diego, at Miami. They get a reprieve with Jacksonville. They go to Houston and host Cleveland. Jeez, I see 6 wins, Ruggs. I see 6 wins. I'm sorry. This is a. I know this is. They say it's a middle of the pack schedule, but I'm sorry. I see 6 wins. I mean, even if they split Pittsburgh and split Cincy, which I don't think they're even good enough to do that. But let's say they do. I mean,
they open up at home with Cincy, and I'm not.
I don't know, man.
I'm not above. I mean, I'm not leery of picking them to win that opening game. I actually kind of think they might get that win in the opener, even though as nice little segue into my my spot here with the Bengals, because I'm going to cover them now. But I think that's an early tough game for Cincinnati to get right off the bat. It'll be a good test for them. I like them a lot. I mean, their roster. See, the thing with Cincinnati is their roster is just impressive if you look up and down on both sides of the ball, but it doesn't always translate on the field for this team. This team's really, if you had one word to describe Cincinnati over the last few years, it's been just disappointing because they haven't gotten out of that first round. 3 years in a row they lose the opening game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They got to put up something this year. This is a big, big year for Cincinnati. They went out and they gave the money to Dalton.
That contract
showed their faith in him.
That contract's it's not exactly what it looks like.
Oh yeah, it's not the guaranteed money.
There's a lot of.
He certainly didn't get a Joe Flacco contract.
No, Jesus, no. He there's a lot of fine print and a lot of loopholes in that contract. Believe me, no coincidence that I will give the Bengals credit on one thing. At least they drafted a quarterback. I'm looking at you, St. Louis. They went out and drafted A.J. McCarron. At least they did that. Okay, whether or not A.J. McCarron's the next Peyton Manning remains to be seen. But, geez, at least they did something. At least they said, hey, there's a lot of quarterbacks here, and we're not sure about ours. How about we take one?
Yeah, well, and on top of that, they don't, slipped under the radar, but they did sign Jason Campbell for the Browns, too.
So, give me a break. That's good general managing. St. Louis.
You got to hedge your bets in the NFL. You can't throw all your eggs in one basket. They did lose one guy. I mean, they're stacked. I'm going to read their defensive lineup to you in a second, but they did lose Michael Johnson, who's a real good player to Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Kind of one of those things. Somebody had to go. It's only enough money to go around.
Mm-hmm.
But they did pick up Danielle Manning.
Like it.
From Houston, former Bear, has really had a big career. This is more of an experience move because they have an experienced, really good defense, and throw another guy in the secondary. Certainly doesn't hurt their case. Offensive line, they kind of they jockeyed a couple of guys. They got Anthony Collins out of there. He also went to Tampa Bay, but they replaced him with Marshall Newhouse from the Pack. As just one tackle for another, basically. Mm-hmm. They did a lot of re-signing, which I like. They got Taylor Mays back. They also re-signed Mike Pollock on the offensive line. Got Brandon Tate back for another year to add another weapon to potential, deep threat for Andy Dalton to throw to. Another guy, he's not a sexy quarterback, Andy Dalton, but his numbers are there. I mean,
he puts up numbers.
He puts up the 4,000 plus, and he throws touchdown passes. He's
sure does.
Certainly highly ranked. But I mean, when you got an offense, you got Dalton at the helm, but you're throwing AJ Green out there. You got Giovanni Bernard's another year. Yeah. More mature. Let's see how he goes. You got Marvin Jones, who had a kind of a breakout year.
Yeah.
Jermaine Gresham and Tyler Eifert are two tight ends that could start for really any team in the league, pretty much. And you got them both. They can go.
I love Eifert this year.
Yeah, 2 tight end sets. Their offensive line, if they had one thing, they made a couple of moves. It's not the best offensive line in the league, but they can run the football and they can give Dalton some time to throw. But I think they're more impressive on the defensive end. I mean, you got a team that's got Geno Atkins now back. You got Carlos Dunlap. They got Vontaze Burfict, who's a really good player. Maliuga's a good player. The corners, they got Leon Hall and Terrence Newman. And they just for backups, they went and used their first round pick on Darqueze Dennard out of Michigan State.
Love that pick.
Adam Jones and Drake Kirkpatrick are guys that are former number 1 draft picks that are playing and basically on the bench. They're third and fourth corners when they go to nickel. I mean, they got, and then that safety position, they just went and picked up Danielle Manning for some experience. Yep. So, I mean, this team is really loaded, but can it translate? Can they actually make it past the first round? That's really the $1 million question in Cincinnati.
Well, that remains to be seen, Ruggs. We'll find out when that time comes. I can't definitively say yes or no, but I was certain last year that Dalton was going to get that playoff win, and boy, he did not. And he did. Not only did he lose the game, but he killed him. He killed him. He was awful.
Oh, it was a nightmare game. I mean, just one that you just totally want to erase from memory.
Really,
and it was an
game.
embarrassing loss. It was at home. San Diego was tougher than a lot of people thought coming in, and they certainly proved it. But they just turned the ball over
he ended the year
like
on
Santa Claus. There, they were just giving them away.
He ended the year on a terrible note. He had a bad December, and it did carry over. Could it have just been that he hit a slump, and it just happened at the wrong time? Because he was flying for a while. I mean, he was just in October, November, he was just amazing. I mean, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Then suddenly December came around, and he got the hiccups there. He just choked, and wasn't able to really just get on board. Wasn't really just able to shake it off and just be consistent. And it showed in that playoff loss. I still like Cincinnati this year, though. They could be a playoff team. They're a fringe playoff team. Oh
yeah, I mean they're a fringe team to win that division. I'll be honest with you. Division's very.
I like them better than Baltimore. I like them a lot better than Baltimore, to be honest with you.
All right, let's take a quick look at the schedule. They go at Baltimore in that opener. I'm torn. I'm leaning toward Baltimore, but I certainly think that they'll get them back in the rematch, which happens late in the year.
I like
or actually later in the about mid-season. But then they host the Falcons. That's a winnable game for them in their home opener. Then they host Tennessee, another winnable game. Then they have the early bye. Then things get more difficult, and they have this little weird stretch of 3 straight home games and 3 straight away games later in the year. But then they go Sunday night. They go at New England.
Tough game.
That's a real tough game. New England. How many Sunday night primetime home games do they lose? Very few.
Right.
They host Carolina, which last year would have been just a barn burner, but I think it's a Cincinnati win this year. Then they go, not an easy game, but I do think they beat Carolina. Then they go at Indianapolis, which not an easy game there.
No.
They come back for Baltimore, Jacksonville, and Cleveland all in a row at home. Now
Cleveland always gives them a hard time.
Yeah, they do, and it's it's going to be a primetime Thursday night game. I don't know. I don't know that they get all 3 of these games. Somewhere they're going to hiccup somewhere. They might win the 2 division games and lose to Jacksonville. You never know with this team.
Yeah.
They got 3 away games coming after that, and they start with New Orleans. Then they go to Houston, which we know how they've done in Houston a couple times in the playoffs. They've not been their favorite place to play.
They could turn that around.
They go to Tampa Bay, iffy game.
Yeah, iffy.
I'd lean towards Cincy in that one early goings, but we're already into the end of November, so who knows how the league's going to look.
The Bucks are going to look. Yeah, right.
Host Pittsburgh at Cleveland. Host Denver at Pittsburgh. So.
Yeah, I see about 10 wins. I can see 10 wins there.
10-6 type of team.
I think about
that might be good enough, Zook. That might be good enough to win that division.
That could be. I think it definitely could be. It would have been last year. With Pittsburgh.
They won the game They won the division last year.
Right.
3 full games at 11-5. I don't know that they get back to 11-5, and I don't know that division is going to be won by 3 games. But this team certainly was proved it last year. Their stuff to prove is going to come in the playoffs. I don't think it's going to be.
Right. I still like them. I think they could definitely. I would pick them to win the division. I really would. I still like them to win the division. I just think Baltimore. Forget Baltimore. I don't think they're even in the discussion as far as I'm concerned. I think it's them in Pittsburgh. To be honest with you,
I was going to say a lot of people are also picking this next team that you have because a lot of hype going on there, and that's the Cleveland Browns. A lot of people, pundits and stuff, are really thinking this could be the shock of the NFL season, and could Cleveland take the whole thing here? And in this division?
No. I don't like Cleveland at all to do anything except grab headlines.
But they got Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, well, I think Johnny Manziel might get himself in a lot of trouble because Cleveland's not exactly the most exciting place on earth. Listen, love their defense. I love Joe Hayden. Okay, I love their first-round pick. I like their additions. I will say they did. Forget about even Manziel. Manziel, he is what he is. I think he's a work in progress. He is not Andrew Luck. He is not Russell Wilson. He is not any of those guys. He will not come into this league and give you that production. I don't see it. I don't see it in his physical characteristics. I don't see it in his game. I don't like Manziel at all this season. Now, perhaps next season, we'll see.
Come on, Zook. Francesa says, this guy's a winner. He's a winner. He's just got something. I think he's going to come in right away and do big things. He's a winner.
Yeah, well, I think guys like him, like the man you just mentioned, they've got a little, something in their eye. I mean, really? I mean, give me a break here. Whatever. I don't see it. I don't see it at all. I do like that they surrounded the Cleveland quarterback, who will be Brian Hoyer. And this is a team I'm going to see live and in living color week 1 in Pittsburgh. Can't wait to see it. Let's see what Ben Tate's got now that he's the man in Cleveland. Obviously, he left Houston to become the man in Cleveland, and he's very talented. Miles Austin, can he stay healthy? Can he? We'll see. Get out of Jerry's world over there and go to Cleveland. Andrew Hawkins, crosses the Ohio River there. I guess I don't know if the Ohio River separates the two, but he kind of goes across the state. He goes across the state there from Cincy to Cleveland.
He came over from Cincy.
So that was a nice little signing there. They also got Nate Burleson from Detroit. I mean, he's been banged up. I mean, but the big guy is Terrence West. Let's see what this young man can do. He's highly touted. So if he's really good, they've got a nice two-headed monster there with Tate and West to help out the quarterback. And, of course, the other big story is Josh Gordon. How long is he going to be suspended? It looks like Cleveland's ready to fully expecting a full season. I hope not, because I just drafted Josh Gordon late in my fantasy league last year. But, I mean, you go out and grab Miles Austin and Andrew Hawkins and the rest of these guys, you're kind of expecting not to have Josh Gordon. But we'll see. The suspension has not been handed out yet. Will it be a full season? Will it be 8 games? We'll have to wait and see. But if it's 8 games, that bodes well for Cleveland down the stretch. Let's see. I just don't see it this year. I really don't. I don't see it happening this year. I think next year is Cleveland's year. So this year, like I said, I like their defense. I like Jordan Cameron. Obviously, he emerged into one of the best tight ends in the league last year. And their schedule's kind of tough. I mean, they're already in a tough division. They start out, as I said, with the game I'm going to be at in Pittsburgh, week 1. Then they host New Orleans. Then they host Baltimore. They go into their bye. Then they go to Tennessee. Then they host Pittsburgh. They go to Jacksonville. They host the Raiders. They host the Bucks. They go to Cincy. They got Houston. It's not the schedule's not that bad. But they at Atlanta, at Buffalo. It gets a little tougher there. Then they host the Colts, host the Bengals, at Carolina, at Baltimore. I don't know. I said Baltimore was a 6-win team. Jeez, can I put Cleveland ahead of them? I don't think so. Maybe they go 6-10 as well. I just don't think they're ready to. There's a lot of fringe games there in that schedule that are in between that they're not going to win because they're just not ready yet. I think they need another year to mature. I'm not even talking about Manziel. I'm talking about their entire team, including mostly Josh Gordon. I think they need that team to mature one more season. Then we'll see if Cleveland's for real. I think this year's a transitional year for Cleveland, and they're going to have some struggles. I think they're going to have a lot of ups and downs. So we'll see. I think it's that kind of year if you're a Cleveland Brown fan. Don't expect too much, but they're going to have their highlights. You're going to say, oh, this is what this. You're going to watch a game and see something good, and then you're going to watch the game and say, same old Browns. So that's what I got for Cleveland. And the big story here, Ruggs, is the team I'm going to kick back to you. the Pittsburgh Steelers, once a model organization, once a foregone conclusion they would win a division. It used to be that you wouldn't even ask who's going to win the division. It was the Steelers, hands down.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
what do you think about the Steelers there, Ruggies?
I don't think it's that way anymore. Certainly not a foregone conclusion. They had a little bit of a tumultuous offseason where they went through, kind of flipped the roster over quite a bit. The big losses are obviously Lamar Woodley went out west to play with the Raiders. They lost Emmanuel Sanders to the Broncos. But, maybe not quite as much talked about, but I thought was a big loss was Ziggy Hood going down to Jacksonville.
I agree. Ziggy Hood played well for them.
Yeah, he really had. I mean, really had a nice career in Pittsburgh. And you mentioned earlier when we were talking about this guy off air. We thought Jonathan Dwyer went out to Arizona, but they replaced him sort of, I guess, with LeGarrette Blount, and then he kind of promptly comes in, and he and Le'Veon Bell get involved with marijuana possession. So, I mean, let's see how that plays out.
Ring a bell, roll a blunt.
Whew, my God, and you're talking about now Tomlin's talking about suspending them. Are they going to be in the opener?
Jeez.
They need to run the football. You
yes.
can't have Roethlisberger just running around taking punishment, throwing the ball 50 times a game. That's not really how they're built to win. I'm worried about Pittsburgh. A lot of people are picking them. I know it's... I've heard on the radio, seen on TV, a lot of people taking this team to win the division, and I'm iffy about it. About taking them. I mean, they obviously still have Big Ben. Really the most experienced, winningest quarterback in that division is still theirs. They went out and they got him some guys to throw to. They went out and picked up Darius Hayward-Bay from Indianapolis. I thought, that could pay some dividends down the road to replace, especially since they lost Sanders. They really needed to do something. Give him somebody that he can, target for something downfield. But they also, I forgot to mention this too. I mean, they let Ryan Clark go over to the Redskins. They did pick up Lance Moore from the Saints. I don't know how much he's got left in the tank. It'll be interesting to see. They had, a pretty active offseason. In that regard, their schedule isn't bad. They start off at home against Cleveland. I like them in that opener. I think they'll do okay. But then they go immediately. Thursday night, they got to play Baltimore in that first Thursday night NFL Network game. Then they got to go to Carolina after that on a Sunday night.
Right.
It's a tough one.
That is tough.
Tampa back home. I'm not worried too much about that. They go to Jacksonville and Cleveland on a road trip. They don't have easy times, and even when Cleveland is really, really bad, they don't ever have an easy game there. They usually get through it and win it, but that's a tough one. They come back for a Monday nighter with Houston. I like them there, and then they host Indy and Baltimore back-to-back, with the Baltimore game being a Sunday night. I don't know if they can get both of them, even though they're both at home. I mean, they got to worry about making sure they get one of those games. Then they hit the road and take on the Jets, which, usually they perform pretty well at MetLife Stadium, but you never know there. And then they go Monday night at Tennessee. They got a lot of primetime games. I will say that's one thing the Steelers kind of always do, even though
and their fans hate it.
Yeah, and they didn't have a tremendous season last year that weren't all these primetime games. But hey, networks want ratings.
They're a big draw,
so
man.
They're going to put the Steelers on. They have a very
draw.
late bye, unlike the rest of the division that seems to take the bye in the early season. They go week 12 with their bye. But their back half of the schedule is a little tough. They host the Saints, go at Cincinnati, at Atlanta, back for KC and Cincinnati. So the last 5 games are going to be testers.
Tough. Well, they got to hope to split Cincy.
Yeah, I mean it's not.
They got to hope it's really cold. Yeah, I tell you that field gets nasty at Heinz Field for New Orleans game. If that game was in the Superdome, I'd say forget it. But they got to. I like it home. That field gets messy if it's cold. They got to hope for some bad weather there, and they can, keep Drew Brees grounded there. And then your team, you never know. The Chiefs, same thing. I'm not that high on the Chiefs. I could see them going 3-2. They got to hope for 3-2 the last 5.
Yeah,
They got hope for 3-2. If they get 4-1, forget it. It's great. They got hope for 3-2.
And that's the case. I would put them in that 9-10 win range, which gives them a shot at Cincinnati. So I could see why people are. If you're down on Cincinnati, maybe the team to pick is Pittsburgh.
I like the Steelers a lot this year, Ruggs. I really do. I'm not ready to say they're going to bring a 7th Lombardi Trophy to Heinz Field, but I think I could definitely see them in the playoffs, Ruggs.
They need a big year out of Le'Veon Bell.
The problem is, I say that because the AFC East is going to be weak. I'm sorry. Sorry, Jet fans. I'm a Bills fan and Dolphin fans. I just don't see the AFC East being that great. Maybe Miami can. I think you're going to have the same story, though. Miami's going to be fighting for a playoff spot. I don't like the Jets this year. Sorry. The AFC South is bad. Sorry, it's bad. I mean, it's the Colts running away. Maybe Houston rebounds, but I don't think they're really a playoff team.
So it might be the worst division in football, the AFC South.
So I could see Pittsburgh in the playoffs. I definitely could. We'll see. Or vying for a playoff spot down the stretch, which they should have made it. I mean, they should have been in the playoffs if not for Ryan Suckup shank field goal. They would have been in. So we'll see.
And that's all the time we have for this evening on the Zuki and Ruggs Show. Another great show partner, as always.
Nice job.
Bye on All Noise Radio.